Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am coming to you barefaced today because we have a full face of drugstore makeup that we are going to test out today. I don't know about you guys, but there's something about going into your local drugstore when they've just restocked everything. You can tell that there are new products there. All the shades that have been missing for a while are back in stock. That recently happened to me in my drugstore. And so I picked up a ton of makeup products. I've got it all, everything from primer all the way to setting spray, and we are covering the range of budget today. I have a couple products here that were $1.98. And the most expensive thing I bought was $12.97, and wait till you guys see what that is. I can't wait to tear into them with you, but before I do that, if you are a new visitor here, I'm gonna give you a special welcome. Please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure that your notifications are turned on. With that said, let's get right to it. Okay, so as I mentioned, I was in my drugstore. I was at my Walmart recently, and the makeup department has slowly been coming together, and I finally feel like they restocked everything. I mean, all the brands were restocked, and I was so happy to see that. So I kind of went nuts. I got a full face of products today. I got a lot of things from LA Colors, which was one of the brands that's kind of newer, and they're crazy cheap. Some of this stuff was super cheap. I think $1.98 was the cheapest thing that I bought. Got some Profusion, I've got some Maybelline, I've got some Milani, I've got Revlon, I have setting spray from Pretty Smart. So this should be a lot of fun. Let's start off with the primer. So I noticed that Maybelline now has a grippy serum primer. I'm not sure how long this has been out. I haven't heard much about this, but you guys know how much I've been loving my Cleanie primer from Wet n Wild. I mean, you guys, every time I show you this, I'm down a little bit further because I'm obsessed with this primer. It's working so good for me. So I'm excited to try this one today. It does seem to be a little bit more liquidy. This one is extremely thick. Look, I turned it to the side. You guys see that? It's like barely moving. I mean, it is a slow mover. It's kind of like Elmer's glue, like the way the texture or the consistency of this, or the viscosity, I guess I should say. This one is much more liquidy and kind of watery, but it doesn't look, I don't know. Let's just open it, shall we? I'm just gonna throw this on with my fingers. I'll have to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the dropper. Ooh, this feels pretty nice. Let me know if you guys have tried this one. I'll take a little bit more. Definitely feels a lot more watery, but maybe watery is the wrong word. It feels a lot thinner than the Wet n Wild one, which initially that one kind of bothered me. The thickness of it did, and it's kind of grown on me. But I am getting that kind of same, as it's drying down, that same kind of sticky sensation, which I have grown to really love in that Wet n Wild primer. So I'm curious to see about this one. By the way, this one, the price was $9.97. That's actually not a bad price for an ounce of product. I think the Wet n Wild one was around $6 or $7, so pretty similar in price. All right, the foundation that I picked up. This foundation, I believe, I've done some research since I bought this. It's been around forever. I think it was maybe discontinued for a while, and then it came back again more recently. It is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser makeup. So I'm sure you're all aware of the Instant Age Rewind concealer that I feel like I haven't owned that for a very long time, but it's very popular for a long time. I myself really liked it. I've always disliked this kind of packaging. So for today, we're actually gonna take off the sponge tip applicator, and I'm just gonna use it on a sponge of my own. I'm very curious to see what coverage level I'm gonna get out of this one. I'm not really expecting much. In fact, as I was reading about this, it sounds more like it's a sunscreen than anything. I went with the shade 130, which I am now looking at it and realizing it's much too light for me. Maybe it's a good thing this coverage is not gonna be massive. Definitely smells like sunscreen. By the way, this one was $12.12 was the price on this. It was not the most expensive thing that I bought. Ugh, I do not like the smell of this. And the shade is definitely too light and very peachy in tone. So let's hope my bronzer is gonna work today because this is much too light for me. I look a little ghostly. Coverage wise though, I mean, I don't know that this is quite getting me to medium coverage, but it's more than just a light coverage. It's giving me some coverage. I'm not super mad about the way this is looking on my skin. I just wish I would have picked a darker shade. I've been striking out big time when it comes to matching shades of foundations and concealers recently. I've had some major fails. I look very ghostly. Yikes. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat is just on my lips, this feels a little bit greasy, like sunscreen kind of greasy. I do have a concealer, which I'm also worried is gonna be too light. So I picked up another shade of the Relove by Revolution concealer. This one's in the shade 8.5. I have the shade C6, and then I think it's like C11.5. And I actually have really come to like this concealer. I think when I first reviewed this last year. I did not initially like it very much. So we're gonna give this one a try, this shade. Okay, this shade looks pretty good, actually. It's gonna be a little light for the perimeter of my face, but great for kind of the center. Definitely need a little more coverage than what I got from that foundation. Let me know what you guys think of this one. It had okay reviews. I feel like most foundations that seem like they're reviewed kind of fairly usually end up sitting around 4 stars. Like you get a good amount of really positive reviews and a handful of kind of 2 or 3 stars, people that it just didn't work for. And they all tend to just meld into this like everything's 4 stars. Just no foundation works for everyone. That's kind of what I have discovered. So we're gonna blend this in with a sponge. In fact, I have right here the C6, this shade, which is a little bit lighter than this one, has been my most used lid and under eye concealer over the last 3 months. I've been using it almost every day and I really like it. Just a good high medium coverage. Sits nice on the skin. It's not too cakey or heavy, but it kind of covers what I need it to cover. Pause right there, and I am going to move over to my bronzer. I don't have very high hopes of this bronzer. This is from LA Girl, so it came in a little package like this. This is their Mosaic bronzer. They only had one shade, and looking at this, I had a hard time believing that this would really even show up on me, let alone anyone. But we'll see. Sometimes looking at things in the package can be a bit misleading. So the Mosaic bronzer was $2.98. That's insane, $2.98 for a bronzer. If this does end up working for me, that will be amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna take a good amount of this on a, oh boy, it's pretty powdery. I'm gonna take a kind of a large powder brush like this and just start tapping it on my face. See if we can get a little bit of color out of this. I definitely need some color. This is definitely not gonna be a shade that works for everyone. I'm getting some color out of it. Do you see that? It's not a lot, and I'm going pretty heavy. So I imagine this shade, which is called Sun-Kissed Bronze. They only had one shade at my drugstore. It's possible at other stores, or if you look online, you might be able to find other shades of this, but imagine this will only work for those who are more fair-skinned. I would say I'm kind of solidly light skin tone. I wouldn't really call myself fair, but I'm definitely not medium. I wish for today, because of the mismatch of my foundation, it was a little bit darker, because I don't know that just building it up is gonna help me out too much, but that's all right. It's not bad though. For $2.98, the formula seems pretty nice. It seems to blend nicely. The color is nice. It's kind of a nice, slightly rosier bronze. If you have very fair skin, color-wise, I would definitely give this a try. I mean, for that price, like it'd be a good fair skin friendly bronzer, especially for those of you that are kind of paranoid of bronzers turning to orange on you when you have very fair skin. I feel like this one will not turn orange for sure. Okay, so my bronzer didn't give me a ton of color. Let's hope my blush will help me out a little bit more. Maybe we'll do a blush heavy day today. So I picked up another shade of the Relove by Revolution blush duos. This has a blush and a highlighter. This one is in the shade Cute. So I have the shade Kindness and I have the shade Sweet. I like them both. I don't love the highlighter in both of them. I can't remember which one I like, but this highlighter looks like a nice kind of champagne shell pink sort of shade. Let's give it a little swatch. Ooh, that looks great. That actually looks like a really good shade of highlighter for me. Honestly, the thing I love about these the most are the blushes. I really love the blushes in these. So I'm excited to try this one out today. It looks like a nice, bright, warm, rosy pink, which I've been loving this type of a shade lately. I should probably update this brush. I don't think they make this one anymore. It definitely doesn't look like this anymore. Go a little bit heavy. Let's just kind of blend those edges out a bit. And then let's jump over to the highlighter in this one. By the way, I'll put the prices of everything on the screen in case I forget to mention it, but this one was also $2.98. Great price on these. If you can find a blush and highlighter shade that will work for you in these duos, totally worth it. The blush especially. The highlighter, like even this highlighter, it's pretty, it's just really, really intense. It's almost a little bit too much. Tap some of that excess off and press it into my skin just to lighten that up just a bit. Let's move over to the brows next. So the most expensive thing that I picked up from the drugstore was this little brow pen from NYX. This is the Lift and Snatch Brow Tint Pen in the shade Ash Brown. This thing was $12.97. It was more expensive than the foundation that I picked up, which was shocking to me. But I have been loving a good brow pen lately, off and on. And it's hard to find good ones. Sometimes I think the shades, it's hard to find a good shade. So I'm curious to see if this shade will work for me. I really love the Milani Weekend Brow, and I have the shade medium brown. No, soft brown is what it's called. And it can look a little bit almost greenish on me. And I don't know if it's just maybe the pigment kind of separates, but sometimes when I use it, I feel like the shade looks a little bit strange. Here it is right here. We are going to, let's start by just brushing my brows upright a bit. Okay, and then we are going to set that down with a brow gel that I picked up. This is the LA Colors Browy Wowie Laminating Effect Brow Gel. This was also $2.98. We're gonna set that in place, and then I actually have another brow product that we're gonna use in my other brow, which I realize my brows might not look the same, but hey, I don't really have anything anywhere I need to be today. So if ever there was a day to have two different brows, it would be the day that I also have foundation that doesn't match me, and I can just stay home and look a little bit crazy. So I picked up the LA Colors Skinny Brow Pencil. This one was also $2.98. I went with the shade medium brown. So let's see which gives me a better brow, the $12.97 or the $2.98. Very curious. Obviously these are a different medium, but so here's the shade. I see this one looks a little yellowy. Suppose the smart thing would have been just to save one for a future video instead of having brows that were two different colors. I actually like them both. I don't know which one I like better. They're definitely different though. They're not the same color, but you probably wouldn't notice that unless I pointed that out. Okay, we're gonna set that in place with the brow gel. Okay, let's move on to the eyeshadow palette. So I picked up the Gilded Mini palette from Milani. This is the all matte one. The reason I went with this one is it kind of reminded me of the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette, which I love, which is surprising because I don't usually love all matte palettes, but this is a very good functional eyeshadow palette. If you just pair this with a shimmer that you love or your highlighter, if you need a shimmer on the lid like I do, it's fantastic for that. And the shades in this one reminded me so much of that one, except that you get one more shade, which is kind of an added bonus. So we're gonna give this a try, and I will insert the swatches of these two palettes side by side for you guys so you can kind of see how they compare. I'll give you my impression on them as we're applying them, if I think this one is as pigmented as the Natasha Denona one. It's been a while since I've tried a Milani palette out, but if I remember right, I really like their matte formula. So we are going to start off in this shade right here. Take that on a large blending brush and just kind of swirl that up through my socket. Ooh, that's darker than I was anticipating. Maybe I should have started with the shade next to it, like that one. Let's go backwards and kind of go over to that shade. So I'm gonna put that on this eye first. I'm just curious to see on its own how much pigment this shade has. Okay, that has a lot more pigment. I should have started with that shade. That's a fantastic transition shade. Would not think that looking at this in the pan that you would get that out of it, but that's really nice actually. Okay, I'm gonna add that on top of what we put down over here. I know this is not it's not the ideal way to do things, but it should end up looking all about the same if I just blend it all together. Okay, now we're gonna jump over to this one and get that shade that I used first on the other eye and start adding that on top. And now I'm going to take the ivory shade. We are gonna put that highlighter from the Duo on my lid, but before I do that, I want to top this all over the inner half of the lid just to give it a little bit of brightness underneath. And just to give you an idea, I know not everyone likes shimmers on the lid, so if you are into your all mattes, this will give you an idea of the look you can create just using the mattes alone. And then we're gonna go back to this palette. I'm gonna take my E25 brush from Sigma Just use kind of like a small blending brush if you'd like. We're gonna start kind of shaping out, sculpting out this outer corner just a bit using this darkest shade right here. Start at the lash line, slowly kind of feathering this both on the top lash line and the bottom lash line at the same time. And I'm just pulling it out diagonally. Okay, I'm gonna go to this warmer brown shade right here and add a little bit of this just to the outer half of the lid. Now this shade is definitely warmer than anything that you get in here. I feel like this shade is kind of the outlier in this palette. The other shades remind me a lot of this one. You don't get a black, very pretty though. If you wanna add a little bit of warmth, that shade definitely added some warmth to the eye. That's very beautiful. Let's go back to the highlighter. We're gonna take my finger and just pop a little bit of that sheen all over the inner half of the lid. Okay, I don't have a new eyeliner, but we are going to go back to the Milani palette, and I'm gonna take this dark brown, the second one over, and on an angled brush, we're just gonna kind of build on top of the diffused line we just put down. We're kind of just adding to that, doing a little bit more of a detailed smudgy line. There we go. Now we have a new mascara. I picked up the Profusion Faux Lashes Lengthening and Volumizing Mascara. It says it's a long wearing and clump free formula. This thing was super cheap. It was only $3.98. That's a great price for a mascara. I'll be honest guys, I don't have the highest expectations of this. In fact, I did pick up another mascara. I picked up a second tube of my lash extender mascara. You guys are gonna be hearing about this a lot in the coming months because I'm almost out of my first tube because I am so obsessed with this mascara right now. But for today, we're gonna try out this Profusion one. So let's have a look at the wand. Okay, this wand actually looks a lot like the lash extender wand, or kind of similar to the Maybelline Sky High wand. So I did already curl my lashes about an hour ago. We're just going right in and we will see. This one's in the shade black. I think they only had one shade. It's a very wet formula. That's one thing I'm not totally opposed to a wet formula, but one of the things I love about the e.l.f. mascara, it's a drier formula, so it's not nearly as messy. If you have a tendency to be very messy with your mascaras and get them everywhere, the wetter the formula, the more difficult it's going to be to keep things nice and clean. This one definitely seems more on the wet side, so I'm trying to not make a big mess. I'm not sure about clump free. You guys see that? It's a little on the clumpy side. Okay, I'm gonna do this off camera because I really need to press my face up to my larger mirror. I'll be back and I'll give you guys some updates. Okay, eyes are all done. They look great. I have to say the mascara was a little tricky to put on. It wasn't the easiest mascara, partly because it was a very wet formula. I actually think that this mascara formula I will likely like a lot more in about a month or two when the formulas had some time to kind of dry down a little bit. Often with wetter formulas, I like them better as they age. We'll see, I'll keep you posted on that. The biggest thing with this will be how it wears and how it removes. It does say it's supposed to be long wearing, whatever that means. I don't know if that means water resistant. I'll obviously keep wearing it over the next couple of days and leave you guys an update down below and let you know how it wore and how it removed. I actually like how it looks on the lashes. It was difficult to get it on to where it wasn't very clumpy and my lashes weren't all kind of clumped together, but once I had kind of combed things out, it looks really pretty. Last up, I've got a couple of lip products. So the thing I'm probably the most excited about from my purchase was my $1.98 lip liners. I've already tried these, you guys, and I actually think they're amazing. They're very long wearing. I like the colors. They only had a few colors left, and I actually like all of the colors I ended up with. I got the shade Melon, which is a nice bright pink, if you like a brighter kind of corally pink. I've been wearing this one quite a bit recently, which looks really bold, but if you put this on and kind of smear it out a little bit, blend it in, kind of rub it in, let it set, and then put like a clear gloss on top, it's gorgeous. I also picked up the shade Rosé All Day. I feel like I've heard that name before. It seems like Wet n Wild had a lip liner that was named that, or lip product that was named that. So there's Rosé All Day. Sorry, I have a lot of stuff on the back of my hand. Hopefully you guys can see that. This is probably my favorite shade. Very good, nude, kind of warm, bricky sort of mauve. And then this one's a little darker than that. This is the shade Cafe. They had a couple other nude shades that were not in stock. They've kind of been picked over, so there's that one. right there. So for today, I kind of want to try out this one. I've been using this one a lot more recently, but I haven't actually used this one other than just swatching it. So let's give this one a try. This is the Rose All Day shade. I'm gonna overline just a bit with this. And as I'm applying this, I'm gonna let those sit for a couple of minutes, then I'll show you guys kind of the smudge test. And then I have the Revlon Super Lustrous Lip Gloss in the shade Snow Pink. I actually already tried this on my way home. I opened these two up on my way. I actually wasn't on my way home. I was on my way to pick my daughter up from carpool. Usually I have to sit in the car for like 20 minutes until she's there. I had a bag of makeup sitting there. So the fact that I only opened up 2 things in the bag, I think actually says a lot about my self-restraint, but anyways, I did try this out already, and I'm not wild about this shade. So it's basically like a semi-clear, sparkly gloss, but the shimmer in it is kind of gold. It's like a warm sort of champagne gold. So something I've discovered more recently, I like a shimmery lip gloss, but I typically like when the shimmer is more like a blue shimmer or like a silvery blue shimmer than something warm. I just feel like a golden kind of shimmer looks a little bit, it's just a look that I'm not really into right now. I think I have a couple other glosses that are like this. They end up looking a little bit like 90s metallic lip, sort of, which is just a trend I can't quite get behind. By the way, this lip gloss, and I think I've owned versions of this gloss before. These super lustrous glosses have been around forever. This thing was $7.83, so not the cheapest thing that I tried out today. Actually looks kind of pretty on top of this lip liner. I wish it smelled better. I compare everything to the lifter gloss because I just think they smell so amazing, and why not get your gloss to smell like vanilla or coconuts if you can? I don't know. I know not everyone feels that way. I definitely do. Okay, the last thing that we have to try out is the Pretty Smart Over Under Priming and Setting Spray. I'm a big fan of pretty much everything I've tried out from this brand with the exception of their foundation. Ooh, I like this sprayer. You guys see that? It's like a long mist. It's kind of strong. So if you're not a fan of fragrance, this one's a little strong. It smells good, but it's quite perfumey. I don't know, let's give it a try. Oh my goodness, you need like maybe 2 at the most. There's a lot that comes out there, but it's a nice fine mist. I think I got more on this side of my face than this side of my face, but I'll let you guys know how this wears. Honestly, setting spray, there are very few setting sprays that I very strongly notice that they make my makeup really last longer. I think the 2 exceptions are the Urban Decay one and the Charlotte Tilbury one. Other than that, I feel like the setting spray is more of like an experience than it is like doing something for me. So I'll keep you posted. It's gonna take me some time, but I do like the sprayer on this. It's very nice. Okay, and that is it, you guys. Those are all of the things that I picked up during my recent shop at the drugstore. Couple final thoughts. The foundation, I actually like the way my skin looks today. I just wish the shade was better. You can see I just look a little bit pale, especially compared to like my neck. If I had a short sleeve shirt on, you would definitely notice that my face was the wrong color for the rest of my body. But I kind of like the light medium coverage that it gave me and kind of the dewy, sort of sunscreeny finish to it. I think it's very pretty. The bronzer, I had to put a lot on. If you look closely at my skin, you can kind of see a lot of texture there because I really had to layer that bronzer up, and I don't know if you can really tell just looking at it in the pan, but a couple of these mosaics have some sheen in them. So if you really layer up something that is a more shiny product, you're really gonna see the texture in your skin, and I am definitely seeing that looking a little more closely at my skin. So I would say this is more suitable for those of you that have very, very fair skin. I think you will probably like it. For the rest of us, this particular shade, Sun-Kissed Bronze, is probably just not quite enough color. I still don't know which brow product I like better. I'm gonna say this one just because of the price. I need a little bit more time with this one. I actually think this might be a little too dark for me. Other than that, I really like the primer, and honestly the primer and the setting spray and the eyeshadow palette and the blush are probably the highlights from today. The mascara I'm gonna need a little bit more time with. It was a little bit tricky to apply, but I'm very eager to see how it removes and how it wears. I actually think it looks pretty good on my lashes. Oh, and the lip liner. These I already knew that I loved, but yeah, big fan of lip liners. You guys know I love a long wearing lip liner, and if you can find one for $1.98, that is a steal. By the way, I did say that we'd come back and take a look at these lip liners, so I wanted to show you guys how budge proof these are. You guys see, I'm really pressing down on these. They're hardly budging at all. Let me know if you guys have tried out some of these products. I know a lot of these have probably been around for a while, maybe not in everyone's drugstore. Some of them are newer to my drugstore, but if you have tried them out, let me know what you thought. I'm loving the eyeshadow look today. If you're into your mattes, I mean, Milani does mattes really, really well. But that's gonna do it for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you guys are doing well. Let me give you one last reminder. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do that before you leave, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye.